They're addicting, entertaining, and some schools say they're distracting. Their cell phones.
Since the shooting at Marshall County High School, every student in that district is allowed to keep their phone with them. Others debate that position. Are cell phones a distraction in class or an added safety measure? Local 6's Brianna Clark joins us with tonight's special report. So Brianna, you put a poll on our web channel. What are the results of that poll?
Well, you can see the majority say it's necessary for safety. And here's a closer look. 15% or 26 people say it's a distraction in the classroom, but 85% or 151 people who took this survey say it's necessary for safety. A University of Miami professor claims students who can access their phones in class are at a disadvantage. One report says students who didn't have their cell phones did 70% better on tests. But a local student tells me he'd rather be safe than sorry.
I need some help out here at the high school. Report of the shooter.
Nate Hamblin was only a few feet away from the shooter when he opened fire. Using his body as a shield, he pushed his girlfriend to the ground. Once the shooting stopped, they started running.
Ran back there, past the trees, and there's a house back there, and we ran past the house, and that's when I called my dad.
Nate was safe, but he couldn't find his little sister.
I mean, that's my flesh and blood little sister. I'm not gonna wait that long to find out if she's okay. If it means putting myself in risk, I mean, it's what's gonna have to happen.
Then the phone rang.
My dad called me and told me that she was okay. It was just like a huge sigh of relief.
A cell phone, the one thing that kept him and his family sane through all the madness.
In the building, please! In the tech center!
Nate now sees it more as a safety tool. These students see it as a distraction.
Record what other students are doing that they think is funny, recording the teacher at times when she's teaching, or
taking pictures of teachers, like making fun of them.
Maddie Calvin and Colby Domey are students at Ballard Memorial High School. They've gotten used to the cell phone policy. Lock it up before class, take it out after school, or risk not having your phone for 5 days.
I'm too scared to sneak my phone in class.
Colby admits he's broken the rules once or twice, but he also sees the bigger picture.
you don't need to be distracted by all of these things that could be harmful to your learning.
One of the biggest issues out there right now is cyberbullying. And where does that come from? It's cell phones.
Bob Wilson works for the Ballard County School District.
We understand there's some educational value to a cell phone and personal device. And when that need comes about, our teachers will approach our administrators. And at their discretion, they'll say, yes, you can utilize that for the classroom today.
But he says they also see the educational value of not having a cell phone.
That eye-to-eye contact and that interpersonal communication, you cannot replace.
Wilson says if there's an emergency, that's what the school landline is for. Brian Duvall agrees. He's a lieutenant with Kentucky State Police, and he's in charge of the local Safe Schools program.
Is it safe to have a cell phone in a classroom? And I would venture to say that it's not.
Duvall says cell phones these days are basically digital drugs for kids.
And they want to be the next person to have the best footage of something. And I know that even in the case with Parkland, Florida, there were cell phone videos from students that were inside classrooms as that event happened.
This is where he says it becomes more of a safety concern than a safety feature.
Some of those people may put themselves in the position to be to get harmed by that shooter.
And they're advising 5 or 6 shots fired.
They were the heroes. They were our eyes and ears for everything throughout the whole thing.
Miranda Hansen and Tanya Clevidence are talking about the Marshall County High School students who called 911 when a classmate opened fire. These two women were the voices on the other end.
Marshall County High School, we have an active shooter in the commons area of the high school.
Relaying information to first responders on scene.
On Central, we found the weapon. It is secured.
They were able to let us know how many were injured that were with them, if they were hurting more gunshots, which way they thought that he was.
Even to the point to where he was at the end.
We got a witness says he's possibly in the weight room.
I mean, they had him in custody in 12 minutes, so I think that was a huge part of that, being able to communicate with people who were there and in the middle of all of it. You know, that they didn't have to worry about trying to get to a phone. They had their phones.
But what if they didn't?
I feel like it could have ended very differently.
It's a very complex issue, and then with the recent tragedies, it's a very serious issue now.
Doug Shelton is a teacher at St. Mary High School in Paducah.
When you teach a class where you know cell phones aren't an option, the kids just seem to be more receptive, not as distracted, and then with cell phones, there is kind of a Charlie Brown effect. You feel like the kids are ready for you to stop talking a lot of times.
Endless entertainment at their fingertips. Shelton is constantly competing for their attention.
Where used to you felt like you were fighting to keep them from playing video games. Now you feel like, now I'm going to be that guy that denies them something they might need in a moment of crisis, you know, and so that can be a lot to get your mind around, you know, in when you're just trying to teach.
On the day of the shooting, Nate held open this door so other students could escape. He hasn't been back through this way since. Nate tells me he sees both sides of the cell phone argument, but as he sits here organizing these Marshall Strong rocks in front of his school where 2 students died, he says he'd rather be safe than sorry.
I mean, there's no telling what type of mass destruction could happen.
A local teacher tells me there isn't a quick fix to the problem. He believes this is something schools will continue to battle as long as technology advances. Right now, it's cell phones. The next thing could be smartwatches or even smart glasses.
All right, so Brianna, what can parents do to help their kids focus more on the teacher, less on the cell phone?
Well, everyone I've talked to say it starts at home. Make it a requirement that your kids put their phone away at the dinner table when company's over or when visiting family. And set a good example. If you're talking to someone, show your child that it's okay to put your phone away and focus on the conversation.
I think it's just frustrating for so many people. There's no easy answer to it.
No easy answer.
Good and bad on both sides. Okay, Brianna, thank you. We want to hear from you. Are cell phones a distraction in school or an added safety measure?
Head to our web channel, WPST, local6.com. Take the poll inside this story.
We continue our team coverage at Marshall County High School, and that's where Local 6's Brianna Clark is this morning.
Brianna, good morning. You talked to a lot of people this week, students, staff, law enforcement. What are their emotions like going into this first day?
Quite a few mixed emotions. The first day of school is exciting. It's a new year. You're probably wearing a new outfit, but underneath all of that, there's a little bit of anxiety here at Marshall County High School. It's been less than 7 months since the shooting here, and students are still healing. The school district is doing what it can to help ease some of that anxiety.
Unsafer, we found a weapon. It is secured.
I don't know if I can let you in, so.
Dad always told me to, if you can't run, then hide. So at first we ran, and then we got out of the school. I saw a kid that got hit in the arm, and I realized, like, you know, this is something that's could be life altering.
Adrenaline pumping. Andrew Coleman noticed another classmate had been shot, this time in the leg.
He was shot right there.
Andrew is an Eagle Scout, and on January 23rd at Marshall County High School, his skills were put to the test.
Sat him down and treated him for shock because he really just seemed out of it. I had some tissues in my backpack, so the first thing I did was get those tissues out and put them over the wound, and a parent came by a truck and we loaded William up in the truck as best we could, and they took him to the emergency office.
Are you nervous about the first day of school?
I'm not necessarily nervous. I'm more open-minded because it'll definitely be a new atmosphere than it has been these last years.
Well, I think
That's Superintendent Trent Lovett.
I have some anxiety too. You hope and you pray that things go safely and everyone makes it back through the school year and things get back to whatever our new normal is going to be.
Starting now, Lovett says they're changing up the routine, beginning with a ban on backpacks for middle and high school students, plus size restrictions on purses and laptop bags, the same protocol as the Kentucky Derby. Elementary kids can still carry backpacks, but only clear or mesh. Gym bags at the high school and both middle schools now have to go through these metal detectors just installed. And the students, they'll have to get used to them as well.
Does that mean that that's going to be the cure-all? No, it doesn't. You know, I certainly hope we're a harder target, but I can't say that it would be impossible.
They're definitely taking all the necessary precautions to make us feel safe.
I feel like we're in a better place now than before January 23rd.
Sheriff Kevin Byers says for the past 20 years, there's been only one school resource officer responsible for all 9 schools in the district. That's about to change. Starting Thursday, there will be an officer at each middle school, 2 officers at the high school, and another floating between the high school and elementary schools.
There's no way to prevent 100%, but we can make it as difficult as we possibly can for another event like this to happen, and I think that's what we're doing by putting our resource officers in place.
You can go back out that way.
Deputy J.T. Coleman is one of the 4 new school resource officers.
I see this as something I can do for a long time. You know, I see me being able to enjoy my job again every day at the school. I see me being able to make a difference.
He's already done that for one student.
He's my father.
That's right, Deputy Coleman is Andrew's dad. While some students are embarrassed to see their parents at school, Andrew is relieved.
Him being here would definitely a sense of security, just because he's such an experienced officer and knows what to do in any scenario.
Deputy Coleman was one of the first on scene after the deadly shooting. He was willing to put his life on the line that day, and Andrew knows his dad would do it again.
Still to this day, I always think about it, but it just doesn't seem like that would ever happen to a town like this. It's just hard to believe that something like that would happen. But that's how that day went. No way.
Andrew is about to start his senior year. This is his turf. Now, a harder target.
Pranks and stuff? Or what?
Renovations are happening right now at the high school and over at Sharp Elementary School. Once complete, the district says this will help better control incoming traffic, visitors, and late arrivals. Live in Marshall County, Kentucky, Brianna Clark, WPSD Local 6.